Hey everyone, so welcome to this video. So in this video today we are talk about that AWS step function. So why do we need that step function? So serverless technologies are standard these days when it comes to managing and a functional code without that worries of infrastructures. So however, this code easily to grow out of control and it can be hard to track down the dependencies of your code. That's where AWS step function will comes in. Using this AWS step function, and we can create workflows and managing our serverless task in a more efficient way. I'll walk through that creation of serverless workflow using AWS step function, and let's get we started. Hey everyone, in order be able to take a full advantage of this learning experience, so I'll be providing with a few more requirements. So you need to aware of that following services actually. The first one is AWS Lambda functions, and so that Lambda function you need to know how they it works and how it going to deploy and how it will be going to execute, so that you need to know. And JSON format you need to know. So JSON already you know, I hope actually. So it's an exchanging the information between the human and the machine actually. And the step function uses the JSON extensively. So that's why. And also you will have some knowledge with the software development. So along with the Python. So I'm going to explain some of the code. So in that code, you need to know how that code will execute actually. And yeah, so that's the thing, the basic things you need to know. And let's get going. Yeah, fine. So this is the AWS homepage. So in that homepage there is a search button is there. So in that I can type lambda. So here is the lambda. So I can open that lambda service. So before we starting that step function, we need to create a lambda function. So from the step function to lambda, we can call it, and we can trigger that serverless application task like that, right? So let me run. So in that, I'm going to create a new function that called create function. So in that, so author from scratch. So in that I can, the function name should be a test channel, and a runtime should be a Python. So I can put 3.10. I can keep the rest of the all the things same as actually. And I'm going to click that create function button, the next. Yeah, now step function, sorry, now lambda is created. So in that, as you can see that function overview, so there is no trigger, no destination there. So just simple lambda function, so that called test channel. And in that, if you scroll below, so in that the code section, so in that code section you can see that editor. And in that editor, so we have here two objects, one is event, another one is context. So context will contains that additional thing like ARN details, and ARN ID and execution ID and the time. All the metadata will have the context. Event will have that our input actually. So if we are going to some give some input like ID or like URL or input whatever, so that value will pass through that event actually. So in that, there is some simple status code 200, and the body should be a hello from lambda. Yeah, that's all. And if I'm going to test that environment, so the test and create a new event, I can type just test event. And so keep it as a same template, and save. So I'm going to save the template, and here is the thing, so I can execute that. Once I executed that, as you can see that response status code 200 and a hello from lambda like that. And if you have any environment variables that you can add it over there. And so this is a very simple lambda code. And the next part, I'm going to create a step function. So in that, there is a service bar is there. So in that I can search step function. So once I click that, it loading now. So let me wait. So here is the step function homepage. So in that left side, you can see the documentation, and some of the developer resources will have. And in that, viewed it in the top of that, view details, edit, copy to new, and delete state machine will have. So I can choose create a new state machine. After that, there is a three option we'll have. design your workflow visually, design your workflow in code, and run a sample project actually. So in that I'm going to pick that design your workflow visually. So in that this is the new update actually. So in that I can choose standard, and let me give the next. And so this is the very simple thing actually. And in that my task is I'm going to invoke the lambda function actually. So we have a lambda module we'll have in the left side. So I can just click and drag, and I can put it over there. So in that initially we'll have the issue error for that, because step function know that we need to trigger the lambda, but which lambda we are going to trigger, so that we need to decide. So we are going to choose that. It's loading. Yeah, so here is the thing, test channel latest. So that I can choose it. Now that issue was resolved. And after that so my thing is, so I need to invoke and I need to wait for that actually. So in that oops, sorry. Yeah, if you need the callback, you need to click the callback checkbox, or else you can ignore that actually. So for me I don't need that actually. So and after that I'm going to give that IAM role permissions for that actually. So that I'm already created that. Once you log in into your AWS thing, so you have a default IAM role access you have, so that you can use it. And for me but it's currently it's optional, so I can leave it as a empty. And but if you have, you can put it. And after that the next state should be a end, and the comment, if you have any comment, so that you can add it. And so I'm going to change the name, trigger lambda, like that. So after that that also will change, and I'm going to create a next. And so once we visually design that, after that the code automatically will generate actually. So this is pretty crazy, right? So after that I can click next. And so the step function name, test sample, and step function, so I can put. So after that I'm going to create a create state machine. So so now state machine is created. So at the time there is multiple options will have: execution, logging, definition, aliases, and version tags. So if I click the version, so you can see that our step function code actually. So this code belongs to that triggering that lambda function. And in that execution level I'm going to click the start execution. So in that I don't have any specific input, so I can just keep it whatever in the default. So if I click the start execution, so once execution started, now it's executed. So in that if you see that my input is command insert your JSON, and that output is 200 and hello from lambda. So what we return from that lambda function, so that step function will capture it and it will be written from the step function. So the step function main job is, so it will be orchestrating that all the services. So if you have SNS, if you have SQL, if you have Athena, or whatever you have, so that you can just orchestrating with a step function. That step function will take care of all the services, so you don't need to worry about that infrastructure at all, right? So it's pretty crazy, right? The next part I'm going to that edit state machine part. So in that I'm going to show that, so what are the rest of the tools we have that step function. So as you can see that in that that left side you can see that action flow and the patterns you have. So if you click the patterns, so there is a ready-made some of the patterns they pre-generated, like process S3 object, process JSON file in S3, process CSV file in S3, and a job folder. So as the description also you can see in the below. So if I just drag and drop that, and defaultly it will be taking that object keys. And so the ready-made templates you can find under the patterns tab actually. So in that these are the three things all related with S3 data processing. And in general you can see that job pooler. So if you have any multiple jobs, if you need to think, so that you can just take and you can implement as well actually. So this is one thing. and I'm going to remove that. And as you can say, the flow. So in that flow button, so we have multiple options. We have the choice, so it's kind of if statement, if then else, that logic statement. So if you have any logic, for example, that lambda will return that status code as 200. So I'm going to check if status code is 200. I'm going to that next part, otherwise it will be written that error statement like that. So in that there is a rule is there, so in that odd condition, and in that so I am going to put status code, and operator should be equal to, and number constant, so in that 200. So if status code have a 200 value, so it will be go to this part, otherwise it will be go to that. And if status code is 200, it succeeded, otherwise it will be return the error fail state. So that's the thing. And there is another two things, so stops and mark as a success. So this instance will completely a success part. And if it is come to the fail, okay, there is some issue on lambda side, so there is a issue, so that's why it will be written in a fail state. So that's the thing. And let me remove, hope you understand that. If you have any queries, please comment in that comment section actually. And there is a next part, it's a parallel. So this node will create a multiple branches at the same time. So if you have a one scenario, so in that you are going to trigger that multiple n number of instance based on that value, so that you can add it over there. So I'm going to create a three lambda function, or yeah, two lambda function at the same time, so that you can handle it, or three with n number of things you can handle over there actually. So this is one thing, the parallel statement. And so I just remove that. And that next part, in that flow level, so there is a map. So this is kind of for loop statement. In javascript you can say as for each actually. So if you have any map object like array of object, if you have, so that object you need to loop one by one. So for example, I have a five elements, right? So each element I need to trigger one lambda function. So that element value will pass through that lambda. So in that part I'm going to just trigger lambda. So I'm going to put that lambda over there. And in that map node level, so you can put that provide a path item array like that. So in that you can put defaultly lambda will return under the payload actually. So the payload have a array value, so that array will iterating that, and it will be triggering that multiple instance as well. And you can set a concurrency limit also. So if you have if your array have more than 100 or more than 1000, so 1000 lambda will trigger at the same time. So at that time you will face that some kind of overload issue, so or billing issue. So at that time you can restrict recommended like 5 or 10. So it will be completing 5 and after that once 5 is completed and the next 5 will trigger like that actually. So that's a one major thing. And oops, sorry. So the next part I'm going to take that pass actually. So this pass will act as transform the data, acts as a placeholder actually. So if you have a data and that data will pass through that another node, so between that you need to tweak the data so that you can change it actually. So in that you can filter it and filter out and output how we are going to do. So all those will be put it in the description, so you can easily to understand that actually. So mostly you will get the output by the payload, and you can take that and you can do the changes whatever you have. So that's mainly used for pass actually. So mostly in our projects, so we have to use choice and parallel and map pass, all the placeholders will be used by that actually. And this is the one major thing. And that wait, it will be provided in a delay actually. So if your state node you are going to wait sometimes, so in that you can put wait actually. So in that that wait for fixed interval, so 5 seconds or 10 seconds you can increase it. So once lambda it complete before ending, it will be waiting for 10 seconds like that actually. So that's why we they give that wait state actually. and in the action statement, so in the action node level we have a lot of action nodes will have. So each node have a different popularity actually, so different functionality. So for example, if you take lambda, it will be invoking the lambda or sns or ecs cluster, or you can trigger the step function. Inside that, another step function you can trigger actually, so you can trigger multiple step function from the step function. So as I earlier said, it will be orchestrating that all the services in the single place, so you don't need to worry about that infrastructures at all. So as you say, so the compute wise, so all the things will have, and the s3 storage wise, even the glacier also will have on the database level, and the migrate, transfer, and network developers tools, robotics, blockchain, quantum. So each and everything will have access to the step function. So from the step function you can manage the end-to-end places easily, right? So that's it about that basic understanding of step function and lambda and the AWS and infrastructure, those things actually. So hope you guys you will get some knowledge actually. And so if you really like that video, please subscribe my channel for more videos. And if you have any queries, please leave them in the comment section below. I'm happy to respond as well. And for more videos, please hit a like button and share it to your friends, colleagues, whatever they need actually. And thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Bye. We hope you found this video informative and helpful. If you did, please hit the like button and consider to subscribe our channel for more videos like this in the future. Also, don't forget to share this video with your friends and colleagues who might find it useful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below, and we'll be happy to respond. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next video.